2nd, 2019, I'd like to call the Fitchburg City Council to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I would ask that anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting please identify themselves now for the record by standing and stating their name and address. Does anyone else wish to video or audio record this evening? Seeing none, Councilor Squall, would you please lead us in the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please conduct the roll?
President Kuchmarek.
Present.
Councilor Boschman.
Here.
Councilor Clark.
Here.
Councilor Di Natale.
Here.
Councilor Donnelly.
Here.
Councilor Fleming.
She's not here.
Oh. Councilor Green.
Here.
Councilor Caddy. Councilor Squalia.
Present.
Councilor Walsh.
Here.
Councilor Zarella.
Here.
Public forum. Anyone wishing to speak on any matter on the agenda may do so for not more than 2 minutes. If you are here addressing public hearing petitions, you will have an opportunity to speak at that time. Please approach the center table and identify yourself and name and address for the record and the item number on the agenda which you are addressing. Does anyone wish to address the council at this time? Seeing none, if there are no objections, we'll now hear a report from the Appointments Committee, which met earlier this evening and took up the following matter. It was a singular new appointment to the Board of Parks Commission, term to expire April 1st, 2024, of Mr. David C. Brooks. That was passed unanimously 4-0.
Motion to approve the Appointments Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the Appointments Committee report. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Motion carries. Now hear a report from the Committee on Records. Councilor Donnelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have reviewed the records and they appear to be in order.
Move the Committee on Records report be accepted.
Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the Committee on Records report. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Motion carries. Communications from His Honor the Mayor. We have two letters of appointments before you this evening. First is for Mr. Daniel J. Cunningham as a member of the Airport Commission, term to expire April 1st, 2022. And the second for Mr. Andrew J. Van Hazinga as a member of the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority for a term to expire April 1st, 2024. These will be both sent to the Appointments Committee. Next, we have a communication and report from Heads of Department from Council President Michael Kuchmarek regarding reappointment of Anna M. Farrell as City Clerk. That too will be sent to the Appointments Committee. Other communications we have from the Retirement Board regarding the cost of living adjustment meeting. Be placed on file, unless there are objections, it'll be placed on file at the City Clerk's office. Next on the agenda, Legislative Affairs Oral Committee Report. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you. There were 4 items on the agenda. 04319, Councilor Marisa Fleming on behalf of Mary Rohrback, 125 Pacific Street, to request a noise control ordinance specifically for loud music that can be heard in one's house or on the street. That was given leave to withdraw. 04419 and 04519, to revise the city's sewer and stormwater ordinances, Chapter 147, in compliance with EPA and MS4 permit requirements as outlined in the enclosed petition. 04519 was Vincent Pusateri II, Esquire, City Solicitor, to revise the city's sewer and stormwater ordinances, Chapter 154, in compliance with EPA and MS4 permit requirements as outlined in the enclosed petition. Both were approved. 07519, Anna M. Farrell, City Clerk, to discuss the options and vote to designate the Ward 5A and 5B polling locations. That was held, and a public hearing was scheduled for April 11th at 6 p.m. at the Fitchburg Fire Department Community Room. This will be a Legislative Affairs Committee meeting, which will be a public hearing on that issue.
Motion to approve.
Mr. President, I'd like to approve 044 and 045, 19th, please.
I have a motion. Did I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion.
Oh.
Well,
Does the second include the pulling them out, or did the?
If it was not yet seconded, I am willing to
Okay.
retract
I will
those
not
two.
second.
Okay, so motion to approve the committee's recommendations on 04319 and 07519.
I'd like to make a motion that we divide the questions then, please.
Counselor Boishman, the counselor
Oh,
just,
okay, all right.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the committee's recommendations excluding 044 and 045-19. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous, motion carries.
Motion to approve 044 and 045-19.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve 044 and 045-19. Speaking
the
on the
motion.
motion, Counselor Boishman.
May I have the commissioner up here to talk to us?
Counselor, you may not.
May not?
No.
I'd like to ask him a question on this.
Counselor, we just had concluded the committee report. That was an opportunity for the committee to ask questions and have the department head before us.
Then, Mr. President, as you feel the way you do, I'm not going to vote for this. I'm totally against it. I'm all in favor of the MS4 program. I'm in this, but I think this is injustice, and I'm not going to vote for it.
I have a motion and second to approve 044 and 045-19. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in opposition? One in opposition, Counselor Boishman. The motion carries 8-1. Public Works Committee,
The Public Works Committee report be accepted. Second.
I have a motion and second to accept the Public Works Committee report from the meeting of March 26, 2019. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous, motion carries. Public hearings, 02919, Fitchburg Planning Board to amend the Fitchburg zoning ordinance by amending the table of principal uses concerning medical offices and to further define different medical and medical office uses per vote of the Fitchburg Planning Board, January 8th, 2019. Declaring it open in the moment. Now declare the hearing open. Counselors, there was a no report from the planning board. They've continued the matter to April 9th, and we're asking that this hearing be opened and then continued to May 7th. That said, I'll give an opportunity for anyone from the wishing to speak in favor of this petition to come forward at this time. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition to the petition? If there are none, I would ask that we have a motion to continue to May 7th.
Move to continue to May 7th.
Second.
Motion and second to continue to May 7th. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous, motion carries. We shall be continued until May 7th. Orders, CDBG year 45.
Move 8019 through 9019 be adopted.
I have a motion and second to send 080
Divide the question, Mr. President.
to and including 10219 be sent, be accepted.
Because I'm not in favor of all of this, Mr. President.
Point of clarification,
What?
note how you'd like the question to be divided.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to divide the question. I'd
How would you like
pull
to
some-
divide?
Huh?
How would you like to divide the,
I'd like to pull out some of these, Mr. President.
Which ones?
I want to pull out 08619, 08919, 09119.
Mr. President, I would make a motion that we adopt these individually, so 8019 be accepted.
I have a, Counselor Boishman, that's amenable, accepting them
That's
individually.
acceptable. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mike Compatriot.
I have a motion and second to accept 08019, ordered that the sum of $60,000 be appropriated, same to be credited to parks and playgrounds improvements and charged against the CDBG Year 45 program. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous, motion carries.
Move 8119 be adopted.
I have a motion and second to adopt 08119, ordered that the sum of $9,000 be appropriated, same to be credited to the Crocker Field Grandstand Wall Restoration Project and charged against the Year 45 CDBG program. Speaking on the motion,
I want to think on this motion, but can we just go in the numbers till we get the objection?
all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Move that we waive the reading of the
Second.
orders until an objection is made.
Second.
Thank you, councilors.
Move 8219 be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adopt 8219. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Motion
Move
carries.
8319 be
Second.
adopted.
I have a motion and second to adopt 8319. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Motion carries.
Move 8419 be adopted.
I have a motion and second to adopt 8419. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous.
Move 8519 be adopted.
I have a motion and second to adopt 8519. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous.
Move 8619 be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adopt 8619. Speaking on the motion, Counselor Boishman.
Motion on 8619, I'm not in favor of $28,000 given to our father's house. I know a lot of you feel that we have to tackle the homeless problem, but I believe that we're bringing in more homeless than we are helping in the people of Fitchburg. I'd like to see that position cut, so I'm not in favor of 086-19.
Counselor Green.
I am speaking in high favor of this. We have seen that this program has worked. The work that Kevin McLean does with this group is unbelievable. Not only during the winter, keeping our most at-risk population off the street, so the headline of the Sentinel doesn't read "homeless person freezes under a bridge," or the fact that we are tackling during the summer the homeless camps that spring up. We are providing opportunity for these people to get and receive help with this funding. Thank you.
Counselor
Speaking on the motion.
Counselor Zarella.
Yeah, I would second that. I think that this is not, we're not just throwing money at the problem. The program that they have at Our Father's House is aimed at not just providing for these, for our homeless population, but for aiding them in not being homeless any longer, which is exactly what we need to be doing. That's the goal, right? I mean, we don't just want these homeless people to be out of our city however possible. We want them to be off the streets and in a livable situation. So I'm strongly in favor of this as well.
Counselor Squalia.
I'm in favor of 8619, Our Father's House Street Intervention Program. They provide amazing communication of the work that they do, and, they also provide great communication with the city and the different departments based on what people are doing in different areas of the city. I know they've contacted the community for cleaning up of areas, and we go out and clean it up, and I like having someone that's dedicated to that purpose on the street.
Counselor Donnelly.
Thank you. I know a lot of people are looking at it as 2019, but I've been watching it since 1984 when it opened. So we're looking at a snapshot. There's a saying, if you build it, they will come. And my concern has always been, are you going to take care of Fitchburg people? Problem is, when you get off the train, you're a Fitchburg person. So to me, there's something that's really not helping the perception of the city of Fitchburg. It is helping a problem. It is a big problem. It's a problem in the city. But I think by providing some of these services, it's also an attraction. So it's just my frustration over looking at it for almost, 35 plus years.
Counselor Di Natale.
My understanding about the services are, and I see it on Facebook all the time with the Our Father's House page, what they do. On the item of perception, and this encourages people who are homeless to come to Fitchburg who are not from Fitchburg. Mr. McLean and the city, I know the police, the mayor's office, they have worked hand in hand for years on cleaning up homeless camps throughout the city that are under bridges, in parks, in forests. And Mr. McLean has presented on the page success stories where people have been getting into apartments, assisted living, and it's been surprising to me because a lot of times if someone is homeless, in many instances, if they're approached for help, many of them refuse help. But in a lot of the cases I've seen, it's not as if people are coming here in droves and utilizing our Father's House's services. There are those that live here and there are those that don't, who then come and camp here. And our Father's House is working every day to get them off the street, out of the forest, out of the bridges, under the bridges, and back into housing and back into a position of self-sustainment. So people aren't coming here and then knocking on our Father House's door. They're coming here and they're setting up shop here, not knowing about our Father's House, and our Father's House finds them and gets them off the street, which is what we want. We can't stop people from migrating to Fitchburg, but we should do what we can to assist in getting them off the streets and into housing, if they want the help. So I'm all for this because I've seen the tangible results of getting people off the street. Whether they came here from outside the city or not is irrelevant. They're coming here and they're setting up shop here, not sitting there for days or months in the cold waiting for the services to come. The services find them. So do we not want them to find them and get them into housing and off the street? That certainly doesn't help us. Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
I would just like to say that the $28,000 that we're spending, from what I've seen of Kevin McLean's work, the return on our investment of $28,000 is usually going to be 3 or 4 times what we're investing here. He has done an amazing job since he started there, and I would like to see him continue with that work. Thank you.
Councillor Zarella.
Yes, I mean, I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm not looking to throw money at a problem. The thing is, first of all, yes, I don't believe our Father's House does, advertise their presence in Worcester or anything like that so that people come here for that. But the problem is, the corollary to if you build it, they will come is not if you cut it, they will leave. If they're here already, we have to do something. Our choices are fund a program that works to get people off the streets, even if there's a replacement rate, even if it doesn't mean necessarily there's ever going to be no homeless people in Fitchburg. Or we can say, they're here, they're not going anywhere, let's just wait till they die off. I mean, I'm not saying that's what my colleague is proposing at all. I'm just saying I don't see that cutting this money would actually reduce any perceived or actual influx of new homeless residents into Fitchburg. All it will do is reduce our ability to serve the ones who are already here.
Councillor Boschman.
I remember a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I think it was, we broke up a camp in my ward, behind United Co-op. You know where that is, on River Street. Big camp. And I remember the press was down there. And I remember to this day, they had a young man on there, and he was crying because we broke up the camp. But did you know that guy had a home? The guy lived in Gardner, Massachusetts. But he wanted to come to Fitchburg because he likes to live in a homeless shelter. That's what he liked. But that's what he wanted. That's what he wanted. We broke up his camp, and we were the worst things that ever happened in the city, because we broke up the camp. But he had a home. The press said it. He had a home. He lived in Gardner, Mass. He rented an apartment. So, I believe, I'll bend over backwards for the people of Fitchburg. I'll bend over backwards, and I'll help them more than once. But I believe that we build it, and they're coming. So, like I was talking to Tom yesterday, I got no problem if you want to help. Then let's get the other communities to donate some money. Because we're taking care of their problems too, because they're coming to Fitchburg. And Councilor across the aisle, one night him and I and his brother went out, and we looked for the homeless, and I think we found one person underneath the bridge. but he wanted to be there. He wanted to be, if I'm not mistaken, if I heard him right, because I'm hard of hearing, but that's what I thought he said. But we found nobody else. And I remember going over there, and I remember talking to a person, and I asked him where he's from, and I said it. He was from Boston. Boston. So I'm supposed to be pleased? And he was saying, I asked him how come he came. He says, well, you know, I got ties in Fitchburg, so I figured I'd come here. I said, well, what's wrong with the shelters out there? He said, well, they get used to me, they're coming out here. Something along that idea. Not exact words, but that's why. And I'm not out to cut it all, I just wanted to cut some of it, like $10,000. But that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Well, Counselor, you talked about a couple of individual scenarios of individuals who came from out of town, came to Fitchburg. You know, people end up in different situations through so many different ways, and I'm sure you'd find a Fitchburg person in, you know, a Lynn, Worcester, or Everett, you know, homeless shelter just as easily as you can find a Gardner or Everett, you know, resident living in a Fitchburg homeless shelter. Homelessness disperses people. It's the very nature of what happens. And, you know, I would say let's ask the people in this program, you know, do they want to be on the streets? They clearly don't, because they're in the program and they're seeking means to return back to independence where they don't rely on a shelter, where they can be self-sufficient. You know, I agree with the sentiment that you want to fund not just a homeless shelter, you want to fund a means to end homelessness. This program helps to tackle that, helps to tackle ending homelessness and ending that cycle, providing them the tools and the skills necessary to end and break that cycle. You know, I'm fortunate. I get to sit here in a suit in a heated room, and tonight I'm going to sleep in my warm bed. But homelessness can touch any one of us, any one of our households, and in our communities. It's touched my family personally, and so maybe I have a soft spot because my father had to sleep under a bridge for a couple of years. What I think about, you know, if that were ever to happen to my family again, would I want a service in a community that I or a family member, you know, needs to get out of, break that cycle, to get a warm bed and get the skills and the help necessary to break that cycle? I would. So I don't care if they're from Fitchburg or they're from Worcester. This is a societal issue that we need to tackle. This isn't just a Fitchburg issue, and these are federal dollars that are coming to us. These aren't our tax dollars, you know, directly being allocated. And this is by way of the federal government looking to help us tackle societal issues. That's exactly what this is, and this is the best way to use those $28,000. So I'll be voting in favor of it. I have a motion and second to accept 08619. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? One in opposition. Counselor Boishman, motion carries 8-1.
Move 8719 be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adopt 8719. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous, motion carries.
8819 be adopted.
I
Second.
have a motion and second to adopt 8819. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous, motion carries.
Move 8919 be adopted.
I have a motion and second to adopt 8919. Speaking on the motion,
Speaking on the motion,
Counselor Boishman.
on 8919, the reason why, I'm not saying the police department's not doing a marvelous job, but what I have been reading in the papers and what I've been seeing on television and everything else, it's time that we change what we do, and it's time that we do it a different approach. As you see on TV, on the opioid crisis, they're no longer arresting people, they're sending them out to get help. I believe that we should be cutting this position from 60,000 to 30, and we should be investing in 090, 088, and 87. I believe you started young, you just said it yourself, Mr. President. You talked about how we can help everybody. I was a kid once, and there's not a lot to do at certain ages in the city of Fitchburg, and I keep on emphasizing that and emphasizing. So what happens, an idle mind's a troubled mind. You start hanging around with the wrong crowd, you start getting into drugs and alcohol and booze and everything else that goes along with the problems, and then I want to be just like this guy over here, because there's no leadership. And I think it's time that we try a new approach and invest the money in these youth programs and try something different. we have drug problems? Yes, we do, but I think if we try what the press has said, and different people say a different approach, we can alleviate some of that problem. And that's how I feel, and that's why I voted for 089 to be cut. And it's all up to you, my fine counselors, to help me out.
Counselor Squalia.
I completely appreciate Counselor Boschman's sentiments. I do agree. I would like to see more funding for the Spartacus program, the Cleghorn Youth Center, or the Boys and Girls Club, all these MIHN. But I'd just like to reiterate sentiments that I've heard from our police chief, who says, like, he would also like to see more funding for these, from what I've heard. And I want to put words in his mouth, but he basically says that he wishes he didn't need to have the $60,000 to fund the services for the Drug Enforcement and Patrol Project. He wished he didn't need that, but he sees that there is an absolute need in the city of Fitchburg for these funds, for this dedicated patrol, and I believe the chief when he says he needs the funds. So,
Counselor Di Natale.
Yeah, if we reduce this, then that's not solving the problem. This has been a staple allocation to the department to supplement existing ongoing drug enforcement efforts. This is not a position, so to say. This isn't like someone's going to lose their job. This is added above and beyond what he's already doing. And, you know, I am not in a position as a counselor to pretend to even know what the police do in this regard and what the chief does. So this is where I defer to the expert's judgment and have all the faith and the confidence in him that if this is what he says he needs, this is what we need to provide him, and not ensure his office becomes a social service agency itself, although in many respects it can be from domestic violence and everything. But this goes well beyond children. This is, I mean, everybody admits we have a drug issue. We have for a long time. And we've seen a lot of progress, at least under this administration and this police chief, of going after drug pushers. And you read it in the paper almost every 2 or 3 weeks that there's a major drug bust. My issue is more with the court system and how they just let these guys go. I'm shocked when they announce what the bail is. You know, $200-300 with a promise to appear in court. What does that tell these guys? You know, so, you know, if the chief needs more money with this, I'm not even going to bat an eye. That doesn't mean we neglect these other programs, and we're not neglecting them, but a lot of instances it doesn't involve someone who needs another direction. You know, there are bad people pushing drugs that are doing it for bad reasons. Well, there's never a good reason. So we need to go after that. So if this is what they need, then I am not going to stand in their way.
Counselor Zarella.
Yes, I agree with my colleagues, both of them who just spoke. I think that, my apologies, I do disagree with the third of my colleagues.
I thought you were saying yes to me.
No, I believe that, first, our police department does do an admirable job of hitting things on multiple fronts. In terms of not only enforcement, but also community outreach. I also agree with the colleague to my left that this is an issue where the youth programs are proven to help, obviousobviously. No one disputes that. And I think that's great. However, there are two reasons, quite aside from trust in the chief's judgment, which I also agree with, that I think this is critical to fund this piece of it. One is simply that, yes, giving our youth more opportunities will reduce the chances that they'll wind up in a life of crime. But there are people out there now committing crimes as adults. We can't just wait for them to age out. We can't just wait for them to become senior citizens and stop committing crimes while we hope that the next generation is better. We have to do something about the people who are polluting our streets now with these toxins and poisons. And that feeds directly into the second point. Yes, people who are in the throes of addiction need help, and we should be giving it to them. But not everyone who is involved in drugs, not everyone who is a target of drug enforcement, is a hapless addict. There are a substantial number of people, there have to be, to keep these systems running, who are deliberately pushing these things, not because of some illness or some addiction that they themselves are fighting, but because it makes a profit. Because we see dead teens with needles in their arms, they see dollar signs. And those people don't deserve help or sympathy. The people who are pushing this, the people who are turning good kids into people who struggle with addiction, that's not something where we need to be, the soft touch isn't going to work on that. We need enforcement. And I think that unless we do that, all the youth programs in the world aren't going to help if our children go from the youth program, wherever it happens to be, back to their neighborhood where they interact with people who are involved in the drug trade. We have to go from both directions. We have to be giving more opportunities and removing bad influences at the same time in order to give the next generation a good chance.
Counselor Walsh.
Our chief of police has been recognized as someone who has seen some time ago that the problem of addiction is not only a criminal justice problem, but also a public health problem. As such, the Fitchburg Police Department was asked by the Worcester County DA's office to participate with them in a federal grant, 2 federal grants totaling $860,000, where they are, and I'm involved in that grant as well. And part of it is prosecution and the other part is diversion. So it's addressing both sides of the issue. So the Fitchburg Police Department recognizes all of the aspects of this, and I think this $60,000 is going to go a long way to enabling them to continue to do that good work. Thank you.
I wish we could increase both areas, both youth development programs and drug enforcement by a multiple of 100 for this program. We don't have that, and it's been well said by my colleagues around the table that you need to fund both. You can't just do one or the other. So while I wish we had unlimited resources to tackle these issues from both sides, we don't, and as such, I'd be a complete hypocrite. The last conversation I had before I came up here to take this seat with the chief was over drug enforcement in one of the neighborhoods that I represent. So, as such, I feel that we need to continue to fund programs such as this using revenue sources that we have available, such as CDBG. So this certainly has my support. I have a motion and second to approve 08919. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? One in opposition, Counselor Boishman.
President, may I ask you to Counselor Boishman, what other items, what's the next item you
I'd
have?
like to cut 091-19.
Is that the
So-
only remaining?
And 095-19.
Do any other counselors have any other remaining items that they'd like to see withheld?
So just those two?
Then, and I just want to say one thing on 099-19. But I'm going to vote for 099-19.
Okay,
But
so
I got
I'm-
one thing to say.
I'm
Thank
going to
you.
make a motion to approve 9019, 9219 through
All the
90
remaining orders
All the
excluding
remaining orders
91,
except
95.
91 and 95,
And
yes.
99.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve all of the remaining CDBG orders excluding 91 and 95. 19, speaking on the motion, Counselor Boishman.
On the motion, on excluding 091-19, I'm not in favor
No,
of
Counselor
that.
Boishman, this is to accept all the remaining except for those two.
Oh,
So if you
okay,
wanted to
yeah,
speak about 9919, this would be your opportunity.
If I want to speak on 99-19?
Correct.
There's only one thing I want to say on 99-19, because I am going to vote for this, Tom, in the planning department, but I want to make it very clear to you, on the first couple that we had that came in front of us, our father's house and everything else, the big problem everybody's having is how to budget their finances. And since you're the planning department and we're supposed to be making Fitchburg better, then I believe that's one of the focuses we should be working on, we either with the school department or somewhere. The finance, this is what they're saying in here, and all their reports, and the MHIN, and our Father's House, and all the other programs that are coming in, that people don't know how to budget their money to live. And I think it starts off in high school, and I think we're failing the students of the city. And that's all I have to say on that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Speaking on the motion, Counselor Squalia.
Just a couple positive notes on 09219, community legal aid. I'm pleased that we are giving $10,000 to community legal aid. I've heard a number of situations with residents where they would need community legal aid, but it's in Worcester. Now that it's come to Fitchburg, I'm happy to see that. And then the $21,000 on 09319 for the, no, not that one, 09419, with the $24,000 for the downtown murals project. That's exciting, and I think that could really provide a lot of economic development opportunity with the creative economy. So I'm excited for that as well.
Counselor Zarella.
I'd just like to speak briefly in favor of 09319, the Small Business Technical Assistance Program. I've long believed, and I freely admit that I'm biased due to my family's history, but I have long believed that small businesses are truly the lifeblood of the economy. If we want an economy that is both vibrant and also local, we need to be supporting small businesses. If you've ever thought to yourself, gee, commercial stores are so impersonal these days, you need to be supporting small business. So I think it's great that New View is helping with this, and I hope to see a lot of these businesses springing up in our downtown area in the near future.
I have a motion and second to adopt. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Motion carries.
Move to adopt 9119.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adopt 09119. Speaking on the motion, Counselor Boishman.
I believe the separation of church and state. I'm not in favor of this MHIN. I know a lot of people say, what's $8,000? It's helping the people of Fitchburg. Well, for the last 6 years I've been on this council, it's been 12 families, and now it's gone up to 15. I find it very hard to believe. And with all the special government programs out there today, and the state of Massachusetts, I find it very hard that they need this money. So I'm not in favor of this. MHIN, I haven't been since I've been on this council, and I'm not changing. So.
Counselor Squalia.
I hear a lot of problems with residents that they are getting kicked out of their house, their family are getting kicked out, they have no place to live. Coming up with first, last, and security is very difficult, especially in the current housing market that we have. It's very expensive. And there's a lot of services that MIHN provides for families in need. And the fact is, we don't have enough family housing. We have the one MIHN in Leominster, and I can't even think of another one. That's the one kind of regional one, and they service a lot of Fitchburg families. I toured it. It's very nice. They provide services to families such as budgeting, learning how to control your finances, learning what to buy, learning how to cook, just endless amount of services, and they keep families for as long as they need in order to save up their money to be able to go out on their own. So I'd like to see it increased from $8,000, but I'm glad that we're giving them some amount of money.
Counselor Zarella.
To my colleague's point about separation of church and state, I'd just like to briefly note, and correct me if I'm wrong, Solicitor, that far from this being an Establishment Clause issue, in point of fact, there was a recent Supreme Court case, I want to say last term, Trinity Baptist or Trinity Lutheran, at any rate, that essentially said that it would be a First Amendment problem if we did not make programs such as this, grant programs available to faith-based organizations on the same terms as we make them available to secular organizations. That particular case was involving a program for grants to resurface school playgrounds, and a religious school had an objection to being excluded. So I don't see that as an issue here. In fact, I think it would be an issue if we rejected it because of the religious connection. And I also think they do very good and necessary work in the community.
Councilor Gina Taylor.
These are federal dollars that are heavily scrutinized in terms of what you can do with the money. Feds have percentages, they have all kinds of riders attached to these funds. So if there was an issue like this, I'm sure they would intervene and say, no, you can't use it for that. And I say it like this because for 12 years now, I've had to hear one or two counselors always talk about this subject. It's $8,000. It's not even a blip on the radar screen. It helps Fitchburg residents. Earlier, I heard that we're funding programs that doesn't help Fitchburg residents. Now we're funding programs that helps Fitchburg residents, and it's a problem because it happens to be a church. If the feds have an issue with it, they would have stopped us. So can we for once put that to bed about church and state? And it's helping Fitchburg people, legit Fitchburg people. Whereas earlier, we were accused of not helping them. So, boy, a classic case of damned if you do and damned if you don't, you know? So we have an issue with helping people in general, apparently, with some of us, whether they're from Fitchburg or not. Thank you very much.
I'll add that the executive director has come before us the previous 5 years for as long as I've been on the council and told this body that in no way, shape, or form does religion enter the conversation for any of the people who benefit from this particular program. And if we doubt it, they've continued to offer for us to come there, to tour the program, and to speak with them further. So I have no doubts that they've assured us, I've received all the necessary assurances that that in no way, shape, or form is religion entering the question, unless people self-select for that while they're receiving care and services at MIHN. So if counselors have concerns, then they should take them up on their offer and go and tour the facility. But if not, then I think we're accusing them of not being truthful. I think this is a deserving program, one that served the residents and families of Fitchburg well, and we'd be foolish not to continue that support. With that said, I have a motion and second to approve 09119. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Motion carries.
Move 9519 be accepted.
Oh, I apologize. Counselor Boschman in opposition. The vote carries 8-1.
Move 95.
I have a motion and second to approve 09519. Speaking on the motion, Counselor Boschman.
On the motion, I'm not in favor of this position at all. I feel we have an economic developer. We also have Mr. Perez that came in to help the city of Fitchburg to develop downtown. So why should I give another $30,000? I don't see it fit. I don't believe we need it. I believe that maybe I shouldn't say this, but maybe I should. Maybe if we work a little bit harder, we can find out what the problems are down there and how we can resolve the issues. So that's how I feel about the $30,000, and I'm not in favor of it.
Counselor Gina Talley.
So my understanding on this position is we have Civic Days, which is in and of itself a gargantuan effort to manage and spearhead. I believe the mayor's chief of staff, in his very limited free time, is the one coordinating Civic Days and has been, as if he has nothing better to do. This position used to be funded through the operating budget years ago. It was removed entirely when the recession hit. I'd rather see it come out of CDBG than the operating budget, because I want to see how it goes. The coordinator in the past would coordinate these events, and then when that went away, it fell on the mayor's office to coordinate all these events, and they go well beyond Civic Days, but that's the lion's share, because as soon as July 5th happens, they're already at the table trying to get donors, fundraising, coordinate events. for the food trucks and for the music. It's a job in and of itself. Then there's the Long Show, we're involved in that. I mean, I'm not gonna go through the list, but there needs to be somebody dedicated to the promotion of economic activity and events down in downtown in coordination with the Economic Development Office. But the Economic Development Director is not charged with coordinating city events. So I'd rather see it here. That way we can actually test this out. See, I am interested to see how this works. And if it doesn't work out, whoever the mayor is at the time it doesn't work out is more than free to just remove it and allocate the $30,000 elsewhere. If we put it in the budget, it kind of becomes part of our baseline, and I would rather it be used through CDBG because it is a community-type event as a trial period. I want to see what this will do. And I want to alleviate the amount of time our municipal employees are spending doing community events. So it's not a full-time position. There's no pension or health care benefits tied to it. So let's see how it goes and then assess it next year and have the community development director and the mayor's office let us know what they thought of it and go from there. But I'd rather see it through here than through the operating budget. Thank you.
Counselor Zarella.
Also, in addition to that, unless I'm getting this mixed up with a different item in the CDBG funding, I recall discussing this with Mr. Skorowski at the time, and we determined that not only will this person be coordinating these events from a logistical and organizational standpoint, but also collaborating with the local businesses and the university to ensure a unified, synergistic approach, as opposed to businesses having to find out about the events just through the paper like everyone else and having no opportunity to kind of put their hand in and participate. And also, this offers the opportunity to create, as our downtown grows, this person can be in charge of making sure that there is a cohesive vision animating it, as opposed to having to orchestrate a series of ad hoc meetings between the mayor's office and business A, the mayor's office and business B, the mayor's office and business C, the mayor's office and the university. We'll have one person at the hub of that to say, basically, this is our vision for downtown. Where do you see yourself fitting in this? And I think that is essential to getting us where we want to be in terms of our community and our economy.
Counselor Green.
You would think that we would be jumping for joy and cheerleading for this, that once again, the university is willing to take this on, not as a municipal employee, that we will owe nothing to, and as a point of contact person for everything that goes on in the downtown corridor, which, I mean, we've done the economic development, we've had the surveys, we've met for 18 months, we've identified the low-hanging fruit, we've identified the things that we right now can change that would bring the economic development that's so needed to Main Street. We've identified that. We need a point of contact person other than the mayor's chief of staff and the economic development personnel to handle all these things that we all take advantage of. All, everything that happens with civic days, the Long Show, the community events that take place downtown with the eateries and the festivals. So, if we could add more money to this under CDBG, I would certainly support doing that. So I am definitely in favor of this position, and once again commend the university for wanting to step up and help us with this.
I have a motion and second. Speaking on the motion, Counselor
I just
Borshman.
one thing I want to say. We talked about downtown. We never talk about Lunenburg Street. We never talk about Giant Fish Highway, we never talk about my area, Park Hill Plaza, never. Downtown, downtown, downtown. Well, what about these other businesses? Don't they count? So why don't we hire another person to take Giant Fish Highway? And let's hire one for Park Hill Plaza. And let's hire one for Lunenburg Street, and where we're at, Lower Clegon. Why not do that? But it's always downtown, downtown, downtown.
Councilor Zarella.
You put the money where the need is first. And right now, I like Park Hill Plaza. They've got a lot of great businesses. But that's the thing, they've got a lot of great businesses. They're doing okay. Could they be doing better if we dedicated resources to improving Park Hill Plaza? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't talked to the business owners there recently. But the point is, they're doing okay. Right now, we're trying to get Main Street back up and running. I would love to have an economic coordinator or a development coordinator for each of those main corridors. It would be great. You know, if we could find room in the budget for it, having one person whose job is to superintend this kind of cohesive, unified development for each individual section of the city, that would be phenomenal. But if we can only get one, Main Street needs it the most right now, because those other areas are just not, they are not in as dire straits as Main Street has been in the recent past and is hopefully coming out of now. We need to keep that development going on Main Street, and once it reaches the revitalization that we're all hoping for, then we can look and see what's the next area. You know, maybe we take the same person even and say, okay, you're done on Main Street. Now we want you to look at whatever section, John Fitch, Park Hill.
Park Hill.
Park Hill. Sure, Park Hill next. And then we do that. But it's just a matter of resource allocation. It's not that we don't care about Park Hill or John Fitch or any of the, or Water Street or Lunenburg Street. It's that none of them need it quite so badly right now. None of them are quite as critical right now to the overall future of the city in the next few years as Main Street is. We can do the others after.
Why Main Street? Because there's 6,500 potential customers that are directly up the road on North Street that go to Fitchburg State University every week. There's another 500 employees, so the largest non-city employer is located there as well. So that's 7,000 bodies essentially that are there every week that we have failed to tap into for its 125-year existence. We've talked about becoming a university or a college town for decades, and we've yet to coordinate and organize all of the necessary components that would make that successful. This position would go through the fiscal agent of the university here, so it would have the university involvement and buy-in, but also you also want to have this concentration of efforts. We have a federal grant for Reimagine North of Main. You want to focus your efforts on a specific area, so there's a multiplication effect. If you just spread yourself so thin across the city, you'll achieve nothing. You'll spend a lot of time achieving little results everywhere only to undo them in one area. So let's focus our core attention, and not to mention that grant, the Reimagine North of Main grant, which I believe is funding the other portion of this salary, is focused on that area. So unless someone else went back, in a time machine, rewrote the grant 10 years ago to the federal government and asked them to focus on a different part of the city, we have to focus on that Main and North of Main area. So that's what we're going to do, because that's what the scope of that project calls for, and this is an area where we get to dovetail on existing projects and infrastructure. So I think we get to accomplish two things in working to attract a university population and all of the potential customers that are down there for an economic base, as well as coordinate our efforts everywhere else with the different grants and agencies and funding sources that are already operating in that area. This aims to do exactly that. So I think this is a win-win for all the players and partners involved. Counselor Di Natale.
You know, I'm trying to find the document, the CDBG document, it escapes my mind, but I don't like the words downtown coordinator. My understanding is this position, this funding is for community events for the city of Fitchburg, of which a lot of them, most of them take place in the downtown. Civic Days, Longs Joe, the Food Truck Festival, I'm not going to bore everybody with how many we do. It's all being done by the chief of staff of the mayor's office, and that is not his job. So I want to get the focus more off of downtown and just say, this is a coordinator of community events that is going to do all of this legwork, whether it's the downtown or not. But again, it can change. We'll have free range to tell this person where we want to utilize them and where we don't. I disagree that we haven't tapped into anything. I mean, we draw 20,000 people at the Civic Days, or 15,000 people. It's just the heart of the city. It's where we're able logistically to close the place down and allow people to come. Logistically, closing down Park Hill Plaza would cause, I don't even know how many logistical headaches, but that's a business park. So the comparison, there's a reason why downtown is usually a focus, but it's for community events. I mean, I guess I'll be corrected if I'm wrong later on, but that was my understanding. And I wish I had time to find the actual write-up. I'm not allowed to ask, right?
It's correct, Counselor. My understanding is it is primarily for the downtown,
Right.
North of Main catchment.
Right. I don't think anybody realizes nor appreciates, I certainly haven't until the last few years, the amount of time that is spent on these events. Civic Days alone is a full-time job. I mean, to get everything in place is ridiculous. I know the Parks Director, or Recreation Director, Mr. LaRose, when he was the Chief of Staff under Lisa Wong, he had to do it. I mean, the Chief of Staff was like the second in command of the city. They should not be doing all of this other stuff. And I'd probably spend more time doing that than the actual job they were hired to do. This is allowing us to do a trial. Let's see how it works. I trust we'll get an honest assessment of how well it worked out. But we need to have someone focused on this to make the events not only better, but bring in even more revenue into the city. But that's why downtown is usually focused on. A lot of these events are during the months where school's not in session. It's because it's logistically appropriate to allow for events of this size. Not at Park Hill and not on Lunenburg Street. It's different. So I want to get the focus off of the word downtown and just look at the fact that we have a plethora of events every year that people that, including myself, take advantage of. I take it for granted because I don't do anything with them. I just go and enjoy myself. I don't appreciate what goes into these things. It's a ridiculous amount of work. So I'm glad to see it through CDBG because it's appropriate to community use. And if we don't like the job this person's doing, either we find someone else or we get rid of it. But this is a trial period. Before, we used to have it in the budget. It became part of our baseline. We had to have actual hearings on it and make cuts, and this is more appropriate having it here. So I just wanted to make that point, that it's not to revitalize Main Street. We already have a staff that's doing that or trying to do that. It's for community events and coordination. That's what it's for. Thank you.
I have a motion and second to approve 09519. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in opposition? Two in opposition, Counselors Squalia and Boschman. Motion carries 7-2. Orders, Finance.
Move 119 through 10219 be sent to Finance.
Second.
I have a motion and second to send 100 up to and including 10219 to the Finance Committee. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? One in opposition, Counselor Squalia. Motion carries 8-1.
Mr. President, do the next three orders require suspension?
They should we need suspension on the rules on just 10419. And the other two can be sent to Legislative Affairs.
Move to suspend the rules, 10419.
Second.
I have a motion and second for suspension of the rules on 10419. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor of suspension?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous, the
Move
matter.
to
To
grant.
approve 10419.
Second.
Motion and second to approve 10419. Speaking on the motion, All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous, motion carries.
Mr. President, can I ask on 10319 and 10519, why those can't be suspended either?
Can I respond?
Mr. Solicitor.
I just want those to go to legislative affairs. There's going to be you're going to start to see a shift in some of the host agreement
Okay,
language.
so it's different than what we
And I
did.
wanted to start talking about that now.
Okay. Move 10319 and 10519 be sent to legislative affairs.
I have a motion and second to send 103 and 10519 to the Legislative Affairs Committee. Speaking on the motion, Councilor Green.
On 10519, there is a public hearing notice happening, I believe, Wednesday, the 10th, for Fresh Connection. That's just a point of clarification before it. I doubt that it will be heard in Legislative Affairs before it goes to that public hearing on the 10th.
Where is it and when?
It'll be at 175 Kimball Street, Wednesday, the 10th, at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Councilor Green. Speaking on the motion, Councilor Zarella.
No, actually, a question of clarification. Is that a public hearing just before this body, or is that the community?
That's the
hearing?
community hearing.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't
Yeah,
missed
it has
anything.
no bearing on the process of sending this to committee, or it doesn't impede our ability to act on that.
To clarify, it's a community outreach meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilor Squalia. Councilor
I just want to say something, Mr. President, maybe you're going to say I can't speak on the motion here, but I do want to say one thing. I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm starting to get a little fed up. If this is all we can do as a city, is bring in pot places, there's something wrong with
Order.
us.
The motion
Councilor
is
Zarella.
to send to committee, not to approve.
I'm not
I agree.
approving, just saying.
I agree. Councilor Boishman, you all set?
I have to be. You said a point of order.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is one in opposition. Motion carries 8-1. Councilor Squalia is in opposition. Ordinances 10619.
Move 10619 and 10719 be sent to their first readings.
Second.
I have a motion and second to send 106 and 10719 to their first readings. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Motion carries.
Move 7119, 7219, and 7319 be sent to their third and final readings, enrolled, ordained, and advertised.
Second.
I have a motion and second to send 071 up to and including 07319 to their final readings, enrolled, ordained, and advertised. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Motion carries. Petitions
10819 through 11119 be sent to their respective
Second.
committees.
I have a motion and second to send 108 up to and including 11119 to their respective committees. Speaking on the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It is one in opposition. Councilor Squalia, motion carries 8-1.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and second to adjourn. I just, announcement, just want to thank, we had some Fitchburg State students who were here for the duration of the meeting. I just want to thank the students for being here and observing municipal government in progress. So thank you, and I hope at some point you keep your mind open to municipal government in whichever communities you may reside. I have a motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
I left
Very
a
much.
long
You did
time
a
ago.
marvelous job.